just a perfectly good intro, and then
until we find again like a groove or something, or and I guess
talk about movies and other pop media.
Pop culture. I guess is a good time to start, if any. Hello, I'm Adrian. Adrian Lee. I'm on Instagram, YouTube. I'm a reviewer. Aspiring entertainer. I am Move Mantis on Instagram, Twitter, or X. Damn it, I did that again. I'm just gonna, I'm just gonna keep calling it Twitter. It's not. It's just Twitter. Instagram, Threads, YouTube, aspiring entertainer, reviewer person, and we're here to talk about some movies. We're talking about everything from movies to music to TV shows to video games. Here to talk about it all. And with me are my two lovely co-hosts. If you guys want to go ahead and start introducing yourselves.
Daniel, you go ahead. Go ahead.
Daniel, you can find me at rated DG13 or GG13, depending on where you are. Because it was like taken otherwise. But I have a YouTube channel. I have an Instagram that I don't upload anything to. I have a Threads technically, and a Letterboxd. Are we recording right now?
Yeah, we are. we are.
Yeah, I was just making sure.
No, we're recording.
I was about to suggest maybe we should save the plugs for like the very end, and I think it would kind of go over more concisely.
Well, it's too late now. Go ahead, last person.
Okay. I'm Hunter, and I'm Adrian's friend. Well, I'm both of y'all's friends, but I
need more.
No, I virtually don't exist on the internet at all. I have a Instagram with one singular post, so I could get a free Slurpee at 7-Eleven. I will probably get more media in the future. Well, let's get on to the topics.
All right, and this is kind of we don't. Like I said at the top of the show, we're looking to talk about everything. Gonna be a little rough, especially these first couple of episodes, getting together, everything and what we want to talk about, what topics are good to talk about. So we'll probably just start off with something simple here. Do you guys hear what the top 3 grossing movies of the year are? I have them right here.
Okay, so definitely. Is this a guessing game, or are you just
sure? Go ahead. Feel free to guess.
Okay. Well, outside of the meme, I doubt Oppenheimer's in there, but I know for a fact Barbie is.
Okay.
It's probably gonna sound dumb, but I just have this weird feeling that Ninja Turtles is like up there, surprisingly.
Okay.
And then obviously Barbie.
Okay, yeah, you were both right. It is Barbie. Barbie is the #1 grossing movie this year so far. And actually, Daniel, you're wrong. Oppenheimer is the 3rd grossing movie of all time this year. Not all time, just this year. And can anyone guess what the second one is? The second highest grossing movie this year. You probably already forgot it came out. Honestly.
Did it come out like earlier this year?
Yes, it did.
Was it Guardians?
Yeah, I was thinking between Guardians or Across the Spider-Verse.
You were close, because Guardians is 4th. It's not the top 3 though.
Across the Spider-Verse?
No, surprisingly, that one I think was 5th or 6th from what I saw.
Wow. I don't know then. I have no idea. It's like all the movies that were memorable this year.
The Super Mario Brothers movie. The Super Mario Brothers movie.
Yeah, that's an obvious one, but it's just like
you forget it came out, right? You forget that it came out this year because it's and this might be surprising to some people. Very forgettable movie in my opinion. Very, very forgettable. Like I did not blame you that you guys forgot that. I wouldn't even blame you that if you forgot that it came out this year at all, honestly, because it's just such a plain, very unchallenging, straightforward movie. So it's crazy to think, and it's not even that it's in the top 5. It's the 2nd highest grossing movie this year, behind Barbie. And I guess
it's nuts, but it's at the same time I'm not surprised, and it's happening just so much more often, especially from Disney when they do a live action thing. It's we've gotten to this point where like really forgettable movies, and everyone can admit it. It's not just like the fact that we're snobs, but like no one is talking about like Lion King or like Frozen 2 or like any of that kind of stuff. That's just like, it seems like if you're in the right position as a studio, you can just like completely low effort, it's like gross $1 billion. And I haven't seen the Mario movie because I just had like no attachment to it. Like, you know, like if Mario's at a party, like of course I'm gonna play, but like outside of that, I'm just like not the biggest Mario fan. So I just knew I wasn't gonna get anything out of an Illumination Mario movie. But yeah, just like the fact that everyone did freak out at it at that point, and like it is like just shocking to me that you know, conversation can die like immediately, despite just so many eyes being on it. Whereas like people are still talking about Spider-Verse, and that's like down the list of like the highest grossing movies of this year.
Or even Barbie, something that it grossed more, but which is surprising that not only that it grossed so much, but it's right next to something that I think is the complete opposite of Barbie. You know, something very plain, very unchallenging, very straightforward. Whereas something like Barbie, I think, was surprisingly challenging, surprisingly well written, and surprisingly, you know, really out there for people. And I hope that it was like they drew them in with the Barbie, but everyone's still talking about it. It's the highest grossing movie because of what's actually in the movie. Unlike something like Mario Brothers movie, which unfortunately is the highest grossing movie, but like you said, how many people are talking about it now? How many people, like, we all kind of just forgot that it came out this year at all. And I think that just speaks to the quality of the movie, and like you said, that not a good movie doesn't necessarily make less money. If anything, it can make more money, and that it's the second highest grossing movie, yet we forgot that it even came out. We forget almost anything that happened in the movie. Like, I can't even... I guess I remember the end. I think they have a dance party. Is that one of the movies where they have it? Like, they have a dance party at the end? They do that? I literally can't remember.
Don't ask me. I mean, did I ever see it?
I think they don't have a dance party, but it's just like a cheap like suggestion to a sequel. It was just like they'd trap him in like a jar, but like it's very, and like the Kamek, like little wizard guy is just like, "Oh, free you later, Bowser." Like, it's just like very obvious. Like, that's just like, you might as well just looked at the screen and been like, "We're gonna make another one."
There's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah. And
but that's kind of all I remember from the ending. But I wouldn't be surprised if there was a dance party.
Yeah, no. And it's just like you said, it's just crazy to think that these big budget movies that, and I mean, just think about how many people were hyping up that movie before it even came out. Like, that's the like number one thing, honestly, that I remember. It's not even about the movie itself. It's like beforehand on Twitter and even on Instagram and stuff, there's people hyping up that movie and like just wanting it to be good, just like trying to materialize it to be good. Yet they forget that Illumination is making the movie, so it's not gonna be good. And I want to say this. I want to take this out and put it out to the rest of the world. Illumination is an evil, evil company. They are the worst animation company ever, and they should not make movies. I'm sorry. Sorry if you like their movies. Sorry if you enjoyed the Mario Brothers movie, but I genuinely think Illumination is like worsening the animation industry. I'm just gonna say that.
What I would want to know is if you like Illumination movies, I need to know what you like about them. Because,
Actually,
other than anything visually, like, and visually doesn't mean good. Just like, yeah, visually they make memorable things. Like, you've seen a minion and you'll never forget what a minion is. But like, what like, it's just such a, they're just so boring. Like, Despicable Me was the only movie that felt like, the only reason it's kind of not boring, at least the first one, is just like, it's somewhat of an original idea. Like, it's just such an out there idea. He's just like a heister with these weird minion people following him around, that they don't explain. So there's like just something like alluring about it, but then like the sequels are just kind of like copy and paste. Yeah, I would definitely like to know why anybody out there likes the Illumination movie and it can be able to defend it at all.
Yeah. Hey,
Here's
if
the
you're an
thing,
Illumination
it's
fan,
like,
you know,
here,
if whenever we upload this, wherever we upload this, let us know. Comment, subscribe, or whatever the hell. Tweet us, call us angrily, come to our houses, get angry at us. Tell us why you like Illumination, please. We are desperate to understand why the people getting money.
that's the thing. We're all like in our early to mid 20s, and like I can acknowledge the fact that they're not made for us, but
Oh yeah,
like,
definitely, yeah.
at the same time, like, again, just like the sheer amount of like billion-dollar movies they've like been able to pump out, and like that new was it like Migration is coming out. I'm expecting that one to fail, considering just how much the landscape has changed. It makes perfect sense why it like dominated the tens like completely. It was there from the very beginning of that decade, and like just was so like ripe to kind of like catch on the internet. It was very much we're gonna like look back on the tens, and like Illumination's gonna be just a massive part of it. Whereas like nowadays, yeah, it's still making money through like the Mario movie, for example. That's a pretty like established IP. I don't really know how much Sing made or how much Rise of Gru made. Let's look that up real quick to see how well they did. Because there was the meme. There was the meme of like just going there to like see it like ironically, and like yeah, it almost grossed $1 billion. It was very close. So they're still
Man,
making
was that
money.
the
but,
whole
like, I would
minion
just
thing? Was that this year? The like the suits and the minions. Was that this year for something?
Was
Was that for
2022
Rise of
last year.
Gru? Okay, that was last year, and that was for Rise of Gru, right? If
I would say like Illumination, like they're I'm hopefully like it sounds kind of messed up to say, because like there are very clearly hardworking like people in that studio, so I don't necessarily want them to just like go bankrupt, because like animators are already treated so terribly. But I will say that like people are extremely people are becoming way more open now than ever to experimental animation that they've like never seen or thought of before, and it started with Spider-Verse, and it's like caught on in like several different forms, and Puss in Boots: The Last Wish is the most recent example where it's like, okay, people are still talking about it. It's still like generating that internet conversation where it's like, yeah, it's funny, but it's also like extremely substantive, and like if something that artistic and substantive can come from like the initial like mediocre like first movie like that no one everyone was just like happy to forget about after that came out.
Yeah, right.
The fact that it did come from just like such a humble origin, and they made like the sequel the best it could be. I'm hoping for more like that kind of direction for Illumination, where it's like you do eventually people do stop getting interested in just like the exact same thing over and over again, and they do something just like completely crazy. Yeah, that's the hope I want for like every like kind of studio that does put out like the same thing. It's like I'm not quite into the camp of like superhero movies not being cinema, but I understand why people feel that way, and more so than like me wanting it to like completely stop. I just want them to be good. That's my hope for like every kind of Illumination-esque, or just like any factory produced movie that's just like the exact same thing over and over again.
And like so with something like you said with the Puss in Boots movie, I feel like something like that, it all just takes word of mouth, and I think genuinely I didn't even hear about that movie till it was already out, and people were talking like, oh man, this movie's really good, like The Last Witch is like the best freaking Shrek movie, or like one of the best movies of the year, and granted, I'm not gonna lie here, I still haven't watched it, but that's how I was made aware of it. It wasn't even like a trailer, and it was literally by word of mouth, and I think that still proves that in this day and age that stuff like that can still get around and be well known, and have just spread around by word of mouth, not like some giant budget movie like honestly, like the Super Mario Brothers movie, that was gonna make $1 billion either way. It's freaking Mario. It's a pre-established franchise that's just now getting a movie. Whether it was honestly
Just now, for the first time.
Yeah, whether we don't talk about that other one. That one doesn't exist. Or maybe I should be more specific and say animated movie. But either way, even if it wasn't Illumination, it's Mario. That thing was gonna make $1 billion either way, and that's why, like you said, it's good to see like the success of something like Puss in Boots, that's a little more, high effort, a little more different, and it didn't need this kind of Mario label to like sell tickets or anything. It just spread around by word of mouth, and I think that can still happen. And I think that's what people in studios and executives are afraid of a lot of the time. That like, oh, we don't have like like even with the Mario movie, oh, if we don't have Chris Pratt, we can't hire that old guy. He's not Chris Pratt. We gotta have Chris Pratt so we can tell people Chris Pratt's in the movie, so people will go to the movie to watch Chris Pratt. Like, I just don't think you really need to do that with these movies all the time. I think it's okay to take risks, and I think it's been proven time and time again that if you take a risk and you really are into whatever you're making, whether that's Puss in Boots or a movie, a TV show, or whatever, that it can eventually get there just by word of mouth. Because if people like something, they'll talk about it. If people think something's different, even like the Main Street people, or like the the normie, they'll talk about it. It'll get around, and people will go see it.
I would say like the only like kind of negative byproduct of that is like I recently saw the and it feels like a little bit, even just like saying like negative is just a little too like hard on like what I'm about to talk about, but I recently saw the Ninja Turtles movie. It does have that striking Spider-Verse style. It, while I'm happy that it did separate itself enough from the Spider-Verse, so it's not like an exact clone in terms of like the designs that you would see in Spider-Verse, but it's going for like the exact same thing. It is already like ushering in the like, okay, everyone's figured it out at this point how to like capture that, and it is very cool style that I hope gets expanded upon. I think Puss in Boots did an excellent job at like reminding you of Spider-Verse and being like, this isn't like traditional like CGI. It's not about looking realistic. It's about like kind of like making an illustration come to life in like a 3D environment. But like the more that people attempt this, the more the room there is to just like kind of like just like completely average ones that do right off of the style more than the substance of the movie. So yeah, I went into it with the right expectations. I was like, okay, this is like it's from like Seth Rogen's like production company, weirdly enough, and it's like I think it's like co-written by him, and it's like it is very much that like yeah, these are like Seth Rogen jokes for like kids. It feels like that kind of like the type of stuff that like you typically see from him. And yeah, I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna go into this because like I'm a fan of Ninja Turtles, and like I'm not expecting anything like amazing, but you have to go in with like the exact right context to like not be disappointed by it, because it is just like it's like a completely fine movie with a cool looking style, but yeah, it's just like they're just like they're gonna keep coming, and yeah, it's important to know that like they're not all coming from the same people, and just because they like look beautiful and like already like you've already like lived through this with like Pixar, and like you could argue with like 8 Crazy Nights or something, where it's like you can make something like just like beautiful looking, but still like eventually it's not going to be enough to like perfect the style that is blowing everyone's mind right now. Like uh, Toy Story 4 is like one of the best looking CGI movies out there in terms of like capturing realism without being like too jarring, like Polar Express or whatever. But like still, yeah, these you can tell it's animated, but at the same time, outside of the character design, the environments look like fantastic. But I fucking hate Toy Story 4 outside of that, and yeah, it's just like, yeah, it's important to keep that in mind as more of these come out. It's like I'm happy that it has ushered in like this new wave of incredibly unique looking animated movies that are the priority isn't about being as close to reality as possible anymore. It's just like doing something that can only be done in animation. I think that's a beautiful thing. No matter how they turn out, it's just like I always give props to like the animators, even if like the writing isn't up to snuff, and it can be disappointing, but at the same time, it's like I don't hate anyone who like worked on Toy Story 4, just like the person who greenlit it.
Yeah. This is the person who wrote the script, and I think that's good to kind of recognize different facets of art or movies and recognize that maybe this is not good, but whoever worked on this part is good, or did a good job. And just being able to recognize those different parts, that some movies can look like shit but still be good, and some movies can look amazing. Like honestly, going all the way back to Mario, I think just the look of that movie looked pretty good. I think especially like me or like Hunter, if you're like a big Mario fan, if you've been playing the games for a while, like that's something I definitely appreciate about that movie. Everyone looked perfect. Mario looked good. Luigi looked good. All the environments that they were in looked great. Bowser's castle looked amazing. Bowser himself looks amazing. And all the assets and the creatures and the places and the buildings all look like straight up from the game. Like they just took it from the game and put it in a big budget movie. And I think that looks great. And it looks amazing. But it's the most boring, basic, like bare bones movie I've ever seen in my life. I swear. Because I don't know, like you were saying, like you could have good animation, everything could look good, but if your story's not there, it's not gonna matter. And that to me is like the biggest thing is not only story but characters. That's what's carrying your movie. That's what's having us interest in your movie is your characters. And if your character's not interesting, why should I care? Switching gears, I do want to tell you guys the rest of that list. Like I said, Barbie was the highest grossing, and this is worldwide box office, by the way. This isn't this is like everywhere. It goes Barbie, Mario, Oppenheimer. Number 4 is Guardians.
Yeah, I very much enjoyed that one, and like, yeah, there's certain like aspects of it where it's like, and like the first 2 Guardians movies were just like we were almost there as like this like fully independent from the rest of the universe, kind of trilogy that they had going. It was inevitable that like with them being in Infinity War and Endgame, that it was like can't really make a midquel between that, because it's like it's just like too important, and like but I will say that like the way it was handled and like acknowledged it in like a non-breaking the fourth wall way, it acknowledged how like this isn't like a clean transition from the second to the third movie. I really appreciated just how it was handled and like how they covered the information in between movies, and like not only comedic but like thematic ways. I just really appreciated how that was like how that turned out, especially in this state of Marvel. It very much felt like it's like the last thing to be said for that entire just the entire MCU. It was like this was the last loose end to tie up. And people will always watch Spider-Man and like the big like huge popular characters like that who like I don't think Spider-Man's like ever upped necessarily, even when it's like underperformed, like in the sense where it's like, oh, we wanted a billion but it only made like 800 million. Like people will always see Spider-Man. I get why that'll keep going, but like everything outside of Guardians and Spider-Man, like, there's just been like no justification for like anything they've made. Even the stuff I liked, like Doctor Strange, it's like that very much, you know, I like how it just like went crazy, you know, stylistically, but it's, you know, it doesn't, you know, as a movie, it's like if it didn't have Sam Raimi and it was like the exact same thing, like, you know, it would just be as, you know, lame as everything else that had come out. So I'm glad that like, yeah, Guardians has been able to wrap up in this in an extremely satisfying and just like well thought out way. Again, just such like, you know, amazing characters, and like seeing how especially like Rocket has changed from the beginning of the series to this one, and just like, yeah, you know, next time I marathon the trilogy, I'm pretty sure I'm just gonna put on Infinity War and Endgame anyway, because like there is like it is very interesting to see just like you know, he's everyone who's like worked on those characters have done very good with them, to the exception of like, you know, Love and Thunder, I guess, because like they were in there for a second. But you know, again, like I'm glad that just like immediately within that movie they just purged Thor being in the group. That was like
yeah, it's kind of like
anyway.
yeah, you can I think we're good now, you know, you can go over
Yeah,
there.
you can go.
And I think that's just what it is with someone like James Gunn, or like you were saying with Doctor Strange. It just takes a guy with a vision. It takes somebody like Sam Raimi, like James Gunn, to have just something. There's something they want to put into these characters. There's something that, like a vision. And that's what I think a lot of these other Marvel movies, especially recently, just don't really have. I feel like a vision. Like, this is what this movie is trying to say. This is what we're trying to portray. It's all just like, let's all introduce all these characters so we can build them up for the next movie. And so you'll have to go see that now. Like, you're paying $20 for like a trailer for the next movie. And there's not really anything really happening almost sometimes. Or like we said earlier, like anything interesting or any effort looks like it was put into it. And like something like Guardians, like Doctor Strange, has effort because it has those people like James Gunn, like Sam Raimi, who have visions and who have pulls with the studios and can interject their own styles and writings into there, and that's what makes it interesting. And I feel like I mean, can you even tell me who directed like the last 4 Marvel movies? Like, they definitely had directors. That's how movies work. You gotta have a director, but you know what? Who even directs those movies? I don't think anyone could tell me. Like,
oh, excuse me. Yeah, I would say that like, especially like, because like, yeah, it was not only like the most thought out like Marvel movie in a while, like just writing wise, but I think it also like had the right time to like simmer with everything. It's definitely like one of their best looking ones from this generation, and I think is very much up to snuff to like the last two. Nothing in it like looked jarring like the past, like you know, like just like everything else that they had done at that point. There was a lot of like really kind of gross detail I liked about it. It was like and I love how like they change up the vibe with every movie. The first one is like, yeah, it's like it's kind of like straightforward like sci-fi one. When I think of it, I think of like, you know, purple, gray, kind of blue, the like burgundy. And then the second one is like so like over the top, like with the color palette and like golden rainbow. Like it's just like such a visual like treat, and I love the aesthetic. And like in this one, I it brought it to like a it's such a cool contrast with the last one, because it's like the darkest like entry. And you know, it's not dark in the sense that's like, you know, it doesn't have to be like, you know, crazy like, you know, depressing or anything, but it is like, it does legitimately go for those emotional moments that like works extremely well. And like I'm so used to like seeing like these like, you know, more independent movies that do whatever they want, and just like kind of like, yeah, this is probably just gonna turn out horribly by the end. It is very satisfying that like, you know, and I know it's a Hollywood movie, but just like seeing them go, you know, down that, you know, dark place for the concept of this the story, and like really bringing it around in a way that like genuinely feels uplifting, and like yeah it's like it's a very well earned victory that they have in the end for that one. And yeah, I thought it was just pulled off like just beautifully. And yeah, it's like it is like there are certain like things that carry over in terms of like yeah, the humor that's injected. It's kind of would have liked some emotional moments to like kind of sit a little while longer before they immediately like went back to like uh, spouting jokes again. Like there, yeah, like I said before, there's like stuff that has to do with the MCU that's just yeah, we established this, but like over time, like a lot of stuff like went down behind the scenes to the point where it's like what was initially set up probably was not what the movie turned out to be. And like they were just like, oh, we teased this guy and he has to be here, but like that's not what this movie is about. So there's like stuff like that keeps it from being like kind of a masterpiece, but at the same time it's just like I can't deny just like how much more soul is there than just like me. Even the Spider-Man ones, like just there's just so much it just works so well. And like it very clearly comes from like this one guy who like just like loves what he's working on. And like this empire, but like this whole like fan base and like the characters that he's become so intertwined with. He loves what he does, and he works with the right people who are passionate about what they do. And like everyone who worked on the movie just like it was just like the right amount of just people who cared about what they were trying to make. And it didn't feel like it was pushed out like just to like meet the quota of like 5 things per year. It was
and I will
I really love how it turned out.
And I will agree with you that I do feel like there is still some of that Marvel in there, like you said, kind of just they like we've talked about a lot before, the standing and doing like stand up for like 5 minutes with each other and just kind of going and going. But I think that's limited in this because it's James Gunn and he's in charge. He's the guy who's making it, and he's got to insert those things. And like you said, just like all the little Easter eggs or the setup for the next movie or whatever movie they're wanting to come after this. But overall, it's still his vision. It's still what he's doing. You get those little inklings of Marvel, or at least Marvel Studios, like in there. But it's still overall his vision, and I think that's what kind of makes the movie good. All those movies, it's just somebody with a vision. I think that's just all it really takes.
So I'm able to hear you guys now. I didn't know if you were able to hear me just a second ago.
We were not.
Yeah, I don't know, something weird happened, but I like just quickly ended the call and then rejoined. But I was just putting my 2 cents in about something.
I mean, you can go ahead.
Not gonna lie, I kind of forgot.
I mean, okay. I mean, if that's the case, I'll move on. Oh, do you remember now?
I do remember. Yeah. I was gonna say, I was trying to say this earlier. I was saying you were talking about how like James Gunn like is like working with the studio, and it's just like, man, yeah, I forget that like just like the word, like the actual word studio, like it used to like be a place. It basically used to be a place for like projects or like art, and it's just like now you hear that and like the first thing you think of is just like, oh, what is like Disney or Warner Brothers gonna pump out? And like how many production companies do you know besides Disney, Warner Brothers, Fox, who can't seem to make anything good, or like A24, or I think there's a niche few who know about Leica Studios.
Blumhouse. They're making the new FNAF movie, duh.
Yeah, nobody cares about Blumhouse. Nobody goes, oh, Blumhouse is making a movie.
I feel like there was a point in time where that was the case, but like now it's like Yeah. I don't know how much people like freak out over Blumhouse in particular. They make money every time because their prices the budgets are just like so low for their movies that they
Yeah.
always turn a profit. But I mean, yeah, I guess in a way they kind of like maybe convince themselves that like, oh yeah, we're a household name just like Disney because we always make money every single time. But like it's there is like a, yeah, the context around it is very much like different to Disney because like I don't know if they've ever like broken $1 billion, but like even when they do become successful, it's not necessarily like, yeah, like Whiplash, some that's like
Yeah.
that's like their best movie, and it's like the furthest thing from what they usually do. So yeah, it's yeah, I guess you're right. Like nowadays, yeah, people don't like go for the Blumhouse name, but there was like, yeah, around the Purge years that was, I would say that was the case.
They made those movies. They were the ones who made those
Yeah.
movies. Really? I actually didn't know that.
That's not surprising.
All right. Anyways, let me go down the list here again. Okay, that was number 4. But this one will be really quick. Number 5, Fast X.
Wow, what that made, I guess,
Yeah.
worldwide.
Yeah.
That's how it. Yeah, because I heard that was like a
Actually,
flop
you know what?
year.
That you say that now that makes me curious. Okay, I'm gonna open another link, and I'm gonna have the domestic. This is just for the U.S. I'm
Yeah,
curious.
there's no way that like that performed well like here because like no, again, just like it wasn't even one of those like $1 billion movies where like people freaked out about for a month and then like moved on. It was like
no, it's like
no
nobody.
no one
Nobody-
talked about it.
Because it's Fast X. Like how many movies can you really make in a row, or how much of a movie can you make before people just stop caring? Like, I think this is the limit, like 10. yeah, okay. Domestically, it was 16 actually.
Oh
Domestically,
my god.
yeah, that's like
Insane.
that's a far goddamn. That's 10. That's like 10 level drop there. I guess
It's still the
China or
fifth
India
highest
or
grossing
whoever,
movie.
just really liked Fast and Furious for whatever reason.
Hey, no, you got to remember this though. If like those movies can get 10 movies, like you think people wouldn't watch them, but then there's some people, someone out there, someone had to like approve and stamp 2 more Fred movies. Like,
Well, I mean, those are like easy to make and just throw on, Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
Like these
no,
are like
but Fred is so much more niche than Fast and Furious. Like I think if I ask people about the Fred movie, most people don't know what that is, or maybe at least the first one. But I know some people are surprised to hear that they're sequels.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, there's a market for everything. People just keep watching them.
Here's the thing, I throughout my life, Fast and Furious meant like nothing to me until
Yeah.
like around the 2021. I gave it a shot. 'Cause my friend's a car guy, and like it was always like a meme. But then like I was like, just fuck it, I'll give it a shot. And yeah, I've really found this series like very interesting as I've watched them, and they're very, very guilty of like the things they've been accused of being like, as in terms of like just like lame Hollywood action movies. But there are certain things about it that are just like do really enjoy on like a schlock level. I think, and yeah, it's like very, very hit or miss, like right down the middle. Like half of them are very standard and boring, but the other half, when they do get crazy, I'm glad that they didn't really disappoint in that aspect. I would say like yeah, the first 3, just like as a just like speed running like my review of them, and like maybe one day if like we want to like do like 3, 6, 9 and like different episodes or whatever. Just like go through that. That would probably be torture, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, there is like a very different vibe from like each area or era. So the first 3 are like, yeah, this is what I was expecting, not too interesting, but I stuck it out because it was like just enough to like kind of hold my attention. But generally, it's like I'm probably not going to rewatch them again. 4, 5, and 6, it's like okay. 4 is like, whatever, but like 5, going through the series, it is like this oddly satisfying thing to like. I think it's like their biggest cast that they've had for like this heist movie that they're going for, and yeah, it's a lot of that just like very much just like tickled my nostalgia, because it was just like so what like loved as a kid, and like it weirdly like captured like this like feeling of like, yeah, just like playing with your cars and like your action figures in like the most crazy way. And like it was like what it was basically like the most out there one at the time when it came out. And like, yeah, it's just like they're as they go on, they very subtly like drop the pretenses of like any sort of realism, and eventually it does go too far. But like that one was one where it was like perfect for like, yes, I'm like, I totally get what like they're going for, and like it's really working for me. And then 6, yeah, that's the one where they start getting like, okay, it's getting so big that it's like I stop caring about like a lot of the action. Like then with 7, it's James Wan, so it's like, yeah, this is
Oh, really?
yeah,
Wow,
it's before he made Aquaman, but like, and I've seen James Wan's action movies more than I've seen his horror movies. And like seeing his action style, I really love how he goes for it. Like he's a very he's what I like to call like competently stupid, where it's like it's kind of like Robert Rodriguez, where it's like it's just so far gone in terms of like, you know, like no one would think that this is like a good idea in terms of like how it's written and how it's like directed, but it's just so incredibly like stupid that it like it very much like, yeah, I just love it when like they're not like certain filmmakers aren't scared to like do something like really really like cringy and dumb. It like, yeah, that one like, again, just like perfect example of like a kid playing with his toys, and like it actually like being like hilarious in that way, where it's like, yeah, you know, it knows it's dumb, but it's just like completely going for it. It's dropped all sense of like, you know, having like a story that you take seriously. There's like a part where they kind of like do the same thing that they do in The Dark Knight, where it's like oh, we have this technology that like, you know, can see through all these cell phones, and it's like this huge like you know, impact on like privacy, and like, you know, is this even moral? And they like explore it as they do it, and it's like, you know, we really have to use this technology right now, but at the same time it's like, you know, this is horrible, like, you know, thing to exist in the world, and like we can't let this, you know, we can't let this like stick around. And in Fast and Furious 7, they have the same technology. It's this MacGuffin that like yeah, can hack like any phone, any camera, anything. And like they're like, if this gets in the wrong hands, it could be like, you know, horrible. But then like they use it, and it's just like, oh hell yeah, we'll use it as many times as we want. Like, you know, as long as America's got it, like everyone's everyone's safe. We're the heroes.
We're the good guys.
And it's like,
you know?
yeah, and it's just like this like perfect like it's just like so emblematic for like what the movie is, where it's just like just completely, you know, turn off your brain. And it's like it's not even it's funny because like it works for me because I don't turn off my brain, and I know just like how immoral like the whole thing is, and just like, okay, let's just like have an excuse to do the craziest thing, and then like not care about like anything else, because I think that one, out of the entire series, it wastes the least time trying to get the audience to take it seriously. But the characters in the movie take it seriously enough to where it's like, okay, you're not like, you know, I'm doing it in like this like quippy Ryan Reynolds way, where it's like, you know, it's just like, you know, oh yeah, nothing matters. But like at the same time, it's just like, yes, nothing matters, but the characters in the movie, you know, think that it matters. And like just seeing them take this, you know, this incredibly like ridiculous story seriously is very entertaining to see. And yeah, as of yet, I've seen 8. I haven't seen 9 or X. I didn't, you know, despite me getting very close to this franchise, I did not watch X in theaters. and I still haven't seen it. But I guess I'm going to.
I salute you for just stomaching all that, man. Like, I really do. Because it seems like,
No,
it seems like you
how it,
had
like,
a lot
pulled
more
me
to
over.
say for a lot of like 6 and 7, but nothing for those first 4 movies. So I can't imagine how those first 4 movies are. You know.
Yeah, 5 and 6 are the ones for me. Those are the ones I'm gonna like own and like not care about any like the rest of the series like at all. Like 5 and 6 I mean 5 and 7 are like the exact like kind of like horrendous Hollywood schlock that really works for me. Yeah. So with 8, yeah, again it's back to like okay, and there's a lot of stuff I'm I'm gonna cut this off now. There's a lot of stuff that I would like to go into as to like why certain ones work better than other ones outside of just like directors and like writers, because it is very much like what the goals of the movie are. 8, yeah, it's like is that same level of stupid, but there is like a very stark difference that I see in it, and yeah, it is like becoming the inverse problem where it's like okay, now no one's taking it seriously, and and like like yeah, absolutely everything is a joke. It's like yeah, Ant-Man and the Wasp, it's Thor: Love and Thunder. It's just like when everything is a joke, nothing matters, and it's like well, like yeah, it's not very engaging. You do need to hit that sweet spot, and it takes like someone who knows what they're doing in that kind of like schlock space. There is an art to it, let me tell you. So yeah, Fast X, can see it. And that was what ushered this whole thing.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't really have more than input. I haven't seen any of those movies. All I know is Paul Walker was in one of them. He had died in a car crash, and they made a tribute to him at the end of one of those movies. That's it. That's literally my extension of knowledge. And Vin Diesel's in all of them. And John Cena's in like a couple of them, I think. That's all. That's literally it's like my extent. That's my extent of this movies. Alright, okay. So if we're done with that one, I'll go on to number 6. Not surprising. Surprising, it's under Fast X. Honestly, I'm surprised it's not higher. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse at number 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Worldwide.
Right.
I think that's where they kind of get
worldwide
saved. It's very interesting because
okay,
like, yeah.
wait. I have to say something very important about this movie. Because people need to know it, and they need to get it into their head so they can experience more taste and more movies. I don't hate this movie or anything, but Across the Spider-Verse is not amazing. It's not a 10 out of 10. Stop pretending that it is.
Well, I can definitely see why people think that and why people like it.
Yeah.
It's just for me personally, it's not the greatest movie. It's not the best. I don't even think it's the best Spider-Man movie. I still think it's good. I think I have changed my opinion on it since I've seen it. I definitely do like it in the first movie. But yeah, I don't think it's like this how people hype it up. Just like the best thing just ever. Period. Because it feels like a lot of the time that's how people like hype it up and talk about it. It's the best movie.
You only hated on it because like that lady was like yelling.
Oh yeah. That theater experience for me definitely ruined the movie for me. I can admit that now, like a couple months out. Yeah, I had a horrible experience, and these guys were with me. I had a horrible experience going to see that movie. I had a very, very loud lady, laughing at every joke, which just made them more unfunny, and cheering, and literally one of those people that literally like claps. Like when he beats the villain or something like that, it's we're in a movie theater, lady. Like I don't need a live studio audience. Like I'm trying to watch a fucking movie. Like
the thing, like the way you're explaining it, it's like okay, typical like audience member laughing to jokes, cheering at exciting moments. Like I'm gonna like like really drive it home for like the listeners. It's like this lady, you could smell the beer off of her. She was like very much like talking like not conversationally with anyone, but she was that kind of reactor where it's just like what is going on, just like multiple times throughout the movie. It was like, it was.
but, like,
I knew I was gonna
nothing
see it
important
like the
is
next.
happening on screen.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It's like a live studio audience. Like literally,
Yeah.
like there's supposed to be a pause after every joke, and we're all supposed to go, and then like when the characters like hug or something, and they're like, "Aww." Like literally, that's literally what she was doing the entire run of that movie. That movie's almost 2 hours, or is it 2 hours?
I'm pretty sure it is.
That whole movie, and it's even worse for me specifically because I was sitting right next to her. It was literally having like a speaker, like right in my ear, and every time something would happen, just a little reaction, like oh no, he didn't. I'm pretty sure that is something she legitimately said like during the movie. Just loud as hell in my left ear. Got so bad that I literally had to move seats. Literally, I had to move down the row. I just couldn't stand it anymore.
I remember the funniest thing she said. It was just like I don't even remember what scene. It's just one of the fight scenes. I just remember she's just like kick his ass, Spider-Man.
Yeah,
like she's in Spider-Man 2. Like she's like one of those New Yorkers. Like you mess with New York, you with all of us. Or you mess with Spider-Man, like get him, Spider-Man. Like she's in the movie. Like I'll admit, I definitely hated that movie more just because of that lady. But I think I've definitely changed my opinion on it since then because of that.
My friend had already scheduled like that we were gonna see it, and you guys wanted to see it too. So I was just like, yeah, I've seen movies twice in a row for different people before. So if I didn't like have that other like screening planned ahead, that was like, okay, at least I can experience this properly like after this, even if she's being annoying. So like yeah, it's that very much like it helped, but at the same time, actually getting on to the movie. Because it isn't my favorite Spider-Man movie, but when people say that they love it and they think it's perfect, I really can't blame them. I don't think that's a bad take necessarily. Even if I don't personally agree that it's perfect, I do think that just like we need more movies like this, and I'm just so happy that we are getting more movies like this. That it's like not only is this something that could only exist in animation, but it's something that could only exist now in the 20s. Like you couldn't fathom something like this a decade ago, and I just think that's so satisfying to see in the landscape, and like just like hit like impact people like and connect with people just so broadly, and like just the fact that it's a Spider-Man movie too. It's just I love it, and like the simplicity of the Raimi movies, and just like I do find it more relatable, and do find it that it connects with me a lot more, and like it's just like something about kind of the straightforwardness. It's funny saying that now because it's Sam Raimi.
Yeah, right.
Because like he already is like doing like stuff that's so stylistically like distinct, but just like there's just like on a story level, there is something about like the simplicity of it that really connects with me a lot more, and just like he struggles with very real problems in this very silly story that does have very silly moments, and like I can acknowledge that even those aren't perfect, but I would say like Spider-Verse is like it's very much unlike the MCU Spider-Man, which I don't hate, I very much enjoy. But unlike MCU Spider-Man and Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, this is a legitimate competitor to those original Raimi movies. That like, I very much respect people who do prefer these over the Raimi trilogy, because it's just so deserved, and I commend everyone who worked on it. The fact that it already started this place that was so like insane for that first movie, that was just like unlike anything you'd ever seen, and somehow upped the animation presentation in a way that is like you do see a difference, even though it's like that first one is crazy enough already. I just people are like disappointed that the next one's being delayed. I'd say like just let it cook for as long as it needs, because like I am very much like fine with just like letting this particular series, I don't care if it takes a decade, just like
Mhm.
make it as like, perfect as possible in terms of like the presentation. And there's the writing too, very much like, it's sad to see when like Kubo and the Two Strings, for example, that like a movie,
Yeah.
where something that striking and beautiful just like does not leave anything for me to want to return to.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, it's depressing to see like something so artistically, you know, uh, yeah, just like unlike anything I'd ever seen before, especially within stop motion. Just like there's just like nothing to that movie, like story wise. It's just like I don't care about anything going on, and it really bummed me out when I saw it because I was really excited to see that movie.
Damn.
Yeah, but like Spider-Verse, like, oh yeah, like it again, like it shocks me that it's, at the everything else I understand, but Fast X, like really
Yeah, right.
worldwide,
And this is
like, how is that like the fact that people are talking about it to the extent that they are, and like no one, literally no one talked about Fast X. It yeah,
yeah.
just,
I mean, it can
shows
have.
me that it was even under, yeah.
I think
that
kind of has a lot to
it's
do
so
with
sad.
those international markets. I mean, granted, and this is sad to say, but I mean, a lot of those other countries, especially the big ones like China, um, they're not gonna go see a movie with like a black lead in it. They're not gonna go like see movies like that, or they're more apropos or hesitant to go see a movie like that, other than like
I think
something like Fast
yeah,
X.
it's more
Just
distribution
just
of like
fucking Vin
like,
Diesel just racing cars. Just something a little more, something a little more unchallenging like that. Yeah. And granted here, and we did this for the other movie. I'll look. Actually, Spider-Verse for domestically is number 3. Actually, it's over Oppenheimer and
Yeah.
Guardians, which makes a
That
lot
makes
more
a lot of
sense. Yeah. And yeah, I think it just comes down to those international markets, and just sad to say, a lot of places like that aren't like America, the United States. People aren't like, again. I'm specifically thinking of China. Aren't willing to go see black leads movies, or movies that are kind of challenging, or off the norm. And while I don't like it as much as other people, I can still say that it is still trying. Like you said, it kind of ushers in this whole new style of animation, because you already see it in stuff like we talked about earlier, like Ninja Turtles or Puss in Boots or something. So it's very, very influential that way, and I think it really excels in that. It's just, to me, personally, it's not my kind of Spider-Man thing I'm looking for, and I think that's just the difference between me and like somebody who really likes this movie. It's just I'm looking for a more down-to-earth, simple Spider-Man, because that's what's, I think, the core of the character, and that's what makes him work. And I think that's why he's not only been so big as he is and so relatable to so many people, but had this longevity that he's had, the character of Spider-Man, because of this kind of down-to-earth relatability of, like, he started the whole trope of balancing school and being a superhero. That's like, that was Spider-Man. That's what started that. And just getting sick of like Spider-Man just fighting aliens and being in space or going across dimensions.
yeah,
that's why I like those Raimi movies. And I'm not trying to get too into it because I do want to get through this list, but that's just for me. But I can also see why people like Spider-Verse, and why people relate to it, and why people think it's really good and it's their favorite movie ever. But I can also see why Hunter would say that, just because, especially, I think it's just like a social media thing. People are really annoying with their opinions, and if you don't agree with their opinions, they'll literally like attack you and like be like, "Well, what do you like?" Blah, 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 and all that, and it could get real annoying. And it's kind of like trying to think of something that's like similar to that. Just kind of this undoubting like devotion to like one movie because you just because you like it, and just telling everyone that it's the best, and if you don't agree, like basically, oh, fuck you. And I see that a lot, especially even when that first Spider-Verse movie came out, I saw that a lot. I feel like
No, funny enough, I was just gonna say no, yeah, that first experience of Spider-Verse was kind of bad, but no, I actually really liked that movie. So much that I even bought 2 Funko Pops after that movie.
Mhm.
But the main thing that I just didn't like about it, and is why I just kind of want people to, I just want people to challenge themselves more, and just like at this point, I'm just challenging the movie itself. Like I don't think it's like it's a perfectly fine movie. It's good. It's rewatchable. I just don't think it's a 10 or anything. And honestly, the main thing for me is I didn't care that it was different or like that the world's at stake or anything like that. I just didn't like how could just, it just what you were saying earlier, like that kind of like Marvel random Ryan Reynolds just like just a quip for no reason. And I get that Spider-Man's supposed to be quippy, but it just felt like Spider-Man's typically quippy when things are relaxed, but like it was a very stressful situation, and then they just make some joke about it, like it's not a big deal, and it just seemed like very weird for them to do that like several times. Like it's almost, it kind of felt like Barbie in a way, like made for 2 different audiences almost, like people who actually are taking it seriously, and then just like for the, you know, simple Marvel fans just to be like, oh, here's throwing a joke or a reference to some other Spider-Man universe. Like, just like, okay, I'm like, that's interesting and all, but I kind of just want to focus on what they got going on. Like, even if it was just 4 different Spider-Mans and you don't see a plethora of them or whatever, I wouldn't really care, because like the story is already good enough. You don't need to spend all this animation and time and effort on all these different Spider-Men. Like I get it. But yeah, I do still think it's a good movie, as much as I said it wasn't like a 10 or anything.
Yeah.
It's definitely a strong movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I also think I still think it could have just been one movie. I think it's gonna depend what they do in the second one, but I really don't. I don't know, just because it just felt like it was about to end, and then it's just like, oh, part 2. I don't know. Like I said, it's just gonna depend what they do in the second movie, and that's definitely gonna change my opinion of it. Whatever they do in this second movie, I just feel like it really could have been compacted back down into one. Like, I feel like they did kind of dawdle and dig around a little too much in the beginning as well.
As long as they don't end game it and it's like, oh, this is going to be the epic conclusion, so it has to be 3 hours.
Yeah, 3 hours. And like half the time nothing happens.
It carries itself throughout the entire thing, and not just like the last like third just being amazing.
Also,
I would say that it is kind of dependent on like where the story goes, whether or not this is gonna like hold up in a satisfying way. As far as like, these part 1 trends have been going, like I would say it's very much still satisfying and worth rewatching for me, more so than like Dune, for example, where it's like the story it just stops. Yeah. It's not like this intense, like, oh man, what's gonna happen next? And it's just okay. We're done for now.
Yeah, we'll come back because it's like a very long episode of a show or something.
Yeah.
But please, I really hope they don't just do an end game and do the whole. I never liked this. Like, Marvel just doesn't want to give their characters any real world consequences at all. And I'm just waiting for them to just be like, they just resurrect his like uncle or whatever. But then he's like the good version of him from a different dimension. And he just like, oh, I have my uncle back or something stupid like that.
Yeah.
Because like that would literally defeat like whole purpose and like how it affected him and like the character. And they like tend to do that a lot. Just give the people these like super perfect, they get everything they want endings.
Yeah.
I doubt that'll happen.
Robert Downey Jr. just don't want to do it anymore,
Doubt that'll happen because they did establish like the glitching thing, where it's like you can't stay outside of your dimension for too long, or else you'll get messed up. And while they do have a remedy for that with the bracelets, I think they're just gonna go the direction of like, and it's very weird to like meet this completely, different but like similar version of that person that I lost. There is stuff, there's interesting stuff to delve into there, but I doubt that they'll go full on like, oh, yeah, everything works out and like nothing gets, you know, nothing is risked, because they do set up just like a ton of like stakes, and I think it works really well in this, much more than like MCU has been doing, where it's like, oh man, like you are in this tough situation where it's like you kind of have this like horrible knowledge of like letting something happen in order for everything to like stay together. I genuinely don't know how this is gonna like turn out, and it's a fine line to walk, and I it could mess up, but at the same time, it's like the fact that I'm feeling, you know, invested in this in a way where it's like, I don't like Ant-Man 3, for example. Like, I don't care if this bad guy can destroy entire timelines. I haven't been enjoying this timeline. Just end it. Just like kill everyone now. The story's over. You killed it like 5 movies ago. You lost all of your audience's respect. Just like stop. Like, yeah. Spider-Verse, yeah, they very much, think things through a bit more than, you know, before they can just pump out like another movie. It's like, they let it simmer, they let it cook.
He's cooking. Let him cook, man. All right, yeah, no, that's what I was about to get on.
What's next on the list?
We probably won't be able to say much about any of these last like 4 movies. But right after Spider-Verse comes, unfortunately, The Little Mermaid, the new Disney live-action remake. I didn't see it. I don't care.
Can we all just say that we haven't seen it?
I haven't seen it. I don't care.
Wait,
yeah.
I can say one thing about this movie.
What?
I didn't have to watch it. Even if I did, it wouldn't have changed anything I'm gonna say.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know why they keep calling these movies like remakes or reboots, because they're just like not the same movie. They just like introduce like the seagull character, but it's like it's just Aquafina. Like it's like, and you could be like, oh, I don't care who they get. I don't care if they got like Cardi B to be the seagull. Like, it's not that. It's just that they changed the entire character entirely. So it's not.
Did you go see this movie? Did you watch this movie?
No. I just know that the Aquafina is the seagull in it.
Oh, okay.
And it's just like,
who is that? Like, okay, you're saying that like I know who that is. I honestly, genuinely don't know who that is. Like, is this like an actor? Is this like a singer?
Aquafina she's like a comedian, and she's also an actor. Like, she's in some stuff. She was in I know who she is because she was in Renfield.
Oh, okay.
Which I actually did enjoy.
Okay.
That movie is stupid too, but like it knows it. It at least tried.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Anyway, but the main issue for me is like they remake these movies and then either add characters who were never there to begin with, or not even just that. Yeah, you could get away with maybe adding a character or two, but then they literally change songs or cut entire scenes. Like in Aladdin, they literally just get rid of the snake, or like when Jafar turns into a snake, like that just doesn't happen. Like just not at all.
It's not that they're not, you know, carbon copies, because they've done it, you know, before, where it's like this is like 90% the exact same story from the first one, but it's just like it looks horrible. None of the actors are like just enough to like really carry it in a significant way. Like the director doesn't like really care, like put the time in to like make it as good as it can possibly be. It's just like, let's just make it and put it out, and
do it again. And
Beauty and the Beast, tale as old as time. Like we all know this.
Or anything. It's just like the acting. Like if the actors like really, like if a guy does a perfect Jafar impression, I'd be like, hey, like that guy did a really good Jafar for a live action. I could at least remember that. But like the guy who played Jafar was forgettable. The guy who played Aladdin was forgettable. Even Will Smith was pretty forgettable. Like now that it's been a couple years, I almost forget that movie exists.
As far as I can't.
I remember. I can't remember who I was talking to about this. This was like a week or so ago, and we were talking about remakes and stuff. I'm like, man, when are they gonna do? Wait, and then I had to like stop myself. I was like, wait, didn't they already do Aladdin? Did they do Aladdin? I couldn't even remember if they had done it or not. Like, it's just so, like we said earlier with the other movies, you know, just so forgettable and just so, you know, not something memorable, like, at all.
Oh.
That, like, and they just pump him out, like, you know, I can.
That just reminded me of this post. I actually saw it this morning, and it was about the new like Snow White that they're making, which will also be bad. And some like she's basically being like, yeah, it's not the 1940s or whatever anymore. Like she's not gonna get saved by the prince or whatever. And I was like, I don't think she even gets saved by the prince in the original movie.
Well, I mean, the kiss counts, but like he
kiss, I
doesn't
guess,
fight
counts.
for her.
Yeah. It's just like,
He doesn't fight for her. I get what you're saying.
But not even that. Somebody like made this comment, and I totally agreed. They were like, instead of like comparing these remakes to the old movies and being like, oh yeah, we're doing all of this comparatively, and it's all going to be, you know, so different and better. Like, you don't need to make it better. If you want to make your own new thing with a new message that's more progressive or whatever,
yeah.
then just say that.
Snow White, yeah,
hey,
maybe
we're gonna do a new adaptation. Like,
yeah, just don't.
adaptation sounds much. I can be much more lenient with, because then it's just like, well, you're doing your own take. Because like, if everybody had the budget, I'm sure everybody would do their own take of like Disney classics, like or whatever they feel like. You know, I'm sure if somebody had the budget, they'd make their own Star Wars.
I'll say this, like I said about Ants and how the movie itself is not good. There is, much like Ants, there is something that I respect about the Alice in Wonderland remake, because it was a completely different take on it. It was exactly what they should have been doing, and I think if they kept going that route, not just like, oh, this is the edgy version of it, but just like, let's make this completely different to the original, then I think they would have eventually found something that actually worked, instead of just like always doing the exact same thing but worse, and like longer and bloated. So I mean, yeah, it is interesting seeing Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland in the library of these Disney remakes, because it sticks out more than all of them, because it is a completely different vibe and aesthetic, and yeah, just a completely different story. It's not the same story, that's for sure. Like it's like this weird like sequel thing that he was going for, which yeah, I can't even say about Maleficent, honestly. Like even that like is more traditionally what they would have done if they did straightforward, you know, Sleeping Beauty thing. That's much closer to just like the story, just like from a different perspective, which again I can kind of respect, but the movie itself is again terrible. I would have preferred that they just kept doing things that were at least set apart from the original, instead of always being put in the situation where they have to be compared to the original. Just like, yeah, you know, it's the first remake I think in a while, I'm probably wrong, where yeah, it didn't gross $1 billion because people are tired of it. People are bored of just seeing the same thing but worse.
And the thing behind that, I was gonna say, is just like, it's also like just weird that they have like these originals that come out every once in a while, but it seems like they don't work on those long enough. Like you were saying, like let it cook or whatever. And it's like, if you have like a reliable source of income, like just pumping out Marvel movies, why not take the time on like some of these like originals and like bake them for a while, like, or like get good minds behind it, get good directors, and it's just like you have the money, you have the resources, like besides the obvious, you know, besides it being a company, like there's nothing stopping them from just like working on a movie for 10 years and not saying anything about it. Like, yeah, I'm perfectly okay with that. Like projects that like are like a project, not just getting like some director and some actors and then Disney just putting their name at the bottom of the project. Like that's literally what it feels like sometimes. Just like, yeah, it's just a group project and Disney just slapped their name on it. That's all they did. Like they don't care if it like bombs or whatever. But there'll be much more time for that. You'll find how much I hate on Disney. I probably hate Disney the most out of the three of us, which sucks because my girlfriend loves Disney, so I have to buy her Disney stuff.
Hey, just go into the
Oh,
store
so
with
I
a
don't
scowl
support
on
Disney
your
in any
face,
way.
just like, God damn it.
Quick question
God, son
before
of a
we
bitch.
move on. Would
Yeah.
you, when you say you hate Disney, would you say like absolutely nothing connects with you, or are you just saying like as a company? Because I hate Disney as a company.
Well, I guess I should be clear. Disney. So I hate current Disney. Current Disney is pointless as like Gucci. It's like the family name's not even doesn't even matter anymore. The family who owns Gucci is not even like a part of it. So now it's like pointless.
Right.
There's no magic to it at all. Disney's just like the Third Reich.
No,
Yeah.
I don't want to go that far. Not yet, at least. But yeah, no.
Yeah, specifically not yet, but it's coming.
I mean, okay. If anything, we can just run through these other ones real quick because these are also just
Wait,
not.
can I guess what the next one is?
After Little Mermaid,
Or
yeah, sure.
at least what's on the list, because I think I know.
This is top 10.
Is Indiana
so-
Jones on that list?
It's not actually. It's actually 13. It's not top 10.
Dang.
After
Wow.
after
Okay, never
Little
mind.
Mermaid, it's Mission Impossible. The new Mission Impossible:
I
Dead
have really
Reckoning
nothing
Part
to say about
1.
those movies.
Nothing
We
at
can literally
all.
just skip that.
And then,
That's just the equivalent of Fast Max.
Did you guys not see that one?
No, I've not. Another one. I just don't. I don't see why I need to watch this movie. I don't know how much I can really get out of them.
Yeah, I understand.
The next
I-
one is.
I
Oh, unless you had something to say. Unless you had something to say, yeah. Here, no, you can say it. Yeah.
I kind of have a shorter Fast and Furious tangent like thing to go on. Yeah, I very much enjoy Mission Impossible. But yeah, these. So the biggest thing I love about the series is that every single one for the first 5 were from different directors who all had very different takes on the same, general story. And that was the most entertaining part to me about the series was the first one, straightforward, much more patient thriller. Second one, balls to the wall, like James was John Woo who did Face Off. He,
Oh really?
he
I didn't know that
directed
either.
it.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's much dumber and much crazier.
yeah.
And then the third one, J.J. Abrams reels it back and makes it, a lot more serious, a lot more like, intense. And it's not like, the craziest movie I've seen, or like the most, intense movie I've seen. But it was nice to see that he was like actually like, trying to get it to be taken seriously again. And I think for the most part, he did a good job. Fourth one, Brad Bird, who, I love him from Iron Giant, Incredibles. He takes the approach of like, okay, this is the 4th installment, so let's take all the tropes that you expect from the series so far, like kind of give them like a little twist. Like the technology isn't working great in that movie. The team is like, it's not. He keeps like the most some of the most like likable members who had like small parts in the last one, and he has a character who like is constantly pointing out how things don't make sense, but they keep moving on, and it's like it's done in a humorous way where it's like yeah, he very much knows what he's making and he just wants you to enjoy the ride, and it's not done in like a cynical way where nothing matters. It's just like, that's weird, how did that happen? And then like they're just like, just keep running, just like keep going, and just like, so that we don't die. So I think his Brad Bird's is one of the best ones. And then the 5th one comes out, and this is where it's like, okay, a standard action movie. 6th one, Fallout, same director, and he does a better job, and it is extremely well done, very memorable action scenes, and like, yeah, I think that's when I think the 5th one is when the team is the best and they have the most consistent, like, yeah, okay, these are the characters everyone cares about, and like they work the best together, and I very much enjoy seeing them, in action, because before that it was just like kind of like it would switch out a lot of the members, but now it's like solidified itself, and to see together. But yeah, it's the fifth one is very standard. The sixth one is like that director's approach perfected, and finally with this one, I'm starting to get why it's the same director for like the past three movies, and it's losing that touch that I really appreciated from them, where it's like the same general, basic story, but done with like completely different people and like having like this crazy tonal whiplash every time. That's what I love so much about it. And now that they've become so consistent, they are starting to Marvel-fy, like, the formula where it's like, okay, they're starting to feel samey. And while, the action is still very well done, and I'll be happy to watch it again.
You should watch all the Mission Impossible movies.
Jesus, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if I could do that. Oh God.
They have more going on than the Fast and Furious. I'll say that they're more interesting.
I guess that's a little more
reassuring. I actually,
in particular,
I was letting you have your take, but I was just gonna say, no, I have seen that, like the first, I think maybe 2 or 3. I remember actually liking the first one. Like they have more substance going on. It's just like the whole Saw thing, or like just maybe 10 of them are good, but
man, it's crazy to think now that two different movie franchises. Two different movie franchises are gonna have their 10th movie come out this year. Oh my god! Like, because you just brought up Saw. I know Saw X is coming out later in October, and we're in this list, and Fast X which just came out earlier this year, and that's just so crazy to me. Like 10 fucking movies. How many movies can you make? Like, oh my god! Jesus. All right, let's move swiftly to the next one. Elemental. I don't think any of us saw that either. Another one I didn't really need to.
My girlfriend did.
How did your girlfriend like it? How did she like it, Hunter?
Well, she's not part of the podcast, so she doesn't matter. No, she liked it, but that's just because she's based, and because it's like we're in a relationship, and so she's like, oh, that's us. But like, she can say that about like, I don't know, like 2 rocks on the street.
Okay, and then the last one, which will actually, because you've mentioned this movie already about 3 times, Daniel. And I'm actually kind of surprised because I have not heard a lot of good things about this movie. At number 10, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania.
Wow. I thought that was a flop, but I guess we were pretty. I
guess no one else had.
Year.
Yeah. I guess not a lot of other stuff coming out. I guess really, because you know what else is on here? It's not top 10. Unless you got something to say about Ant-Man real quick. Another one. I didn't see it. Don't really have much to say about it. Don't really care.
Yeah. It is worst that Marvel can be right next to Thor: Love and Thunder. It's like, and there are superhero movie like screw ups where it is endearing even when they completely fail, like Daredevil, your Catwoman's, and even like something more modern, like, and I wouldn't call it complete failure because again, like, I have a lot of respect for James Wan, but like Aquaman, that is like prime schlock. If it has to be mindless, I want it. He does it very well. Ant-Man and the Wasp is like, when the MCU screws up and like they make a bad movie, is never fun. Ever. Yeah. and
don't they show MODOK's ass in that movie?
Yeah.
Or am I wrong?
Forgot about that. Yeah. Just like MODOK could have worked in like a different movie. Like, it's James Gunn had done something with him like that. I can imagine him doing something weird and like very just charming and just like stupid, but like also in a way that just works on a purely comedic level. They tried to, but it's like just like manufactured like weird and like it's so disingenuous and like uncreative. It's like, oh, this broccoli head alien, isn't that crazy? It's like it's just the lamest that like anything you could possibly see in like a sci-fi movie where it's just like I wasn't like it didn't insult me as much as like Thor: Love and Thunder, because Thor: Love and Thunder had like Taika Waititi behind it, and like that was basically like his first like straight up bad movie. Whereas like Ant-Man, it's like, well, wasn't really expecting anything else, but it is still that same level, just purely as a movie, where it's just like nothing matters, all of this is lame, and you still insist that I care about the next big villain. Screw yourself. Like, yeah.
But you know what's something that's actually on here that's pretty high that I am very surprised is even on this list this high or even on it at all. At number 14, Meg 2, The Trench. It made
Meg 2?
$376 million.
Yeah, I completely forgot that came out. I saw the trailer. I was kind of like, no, maybe I'll give this one a shot because it looks like just like.
That's really surprising. Again,
just
on it at all. Like I think I saw one thing on like a football game, like commercial, and that's maybe it that I can remember. And I'm like, oh shit, what
you're right. Like
they're making a second one.
No,
Oh, damn.
I'm not surprised at all. These people who watch these shark movies, like they don't even gotta make commercial for these people. Like,
yeah,
I know that because my stepmom is one of these people. Especially this company Asylum. All Asylum does is make these like really, really bad monster movies. Like they made like Santa Jaws, like Mega Shark versus like Mega Croc or whatever, and yeah, man, like you make anything that involves a shark in it, like they'll watch it. Like I could literally just make a movie where like a hotel floods and like somehow hallways are big enough for like a shark to fit in, and like you like just going floor to floor eating people. Yeah, like people would watch that.
I don't think the Asylum movies have like like you see the poster and you like scoff at it, but like I don't think the Asylum movies have a legitimate audience. I get why the Meg does. It is like extremely like huge dumb spectacle. It's like I get it, but like yeah, I'm not gonna conflate that success to like Asylum. Like the shark movies from Asylum
not
are not
really
the same.
Asylum having a hand in it. It's just easy to get like Godzilla. Like it's not surprising that they're making another one. It's easy to get a big monster that eats people and destroys stuff, and that's enough for people to watch.
Yeah, I guess I see what you're saying in that like it's easy for that kind of movie to get attention every time, and as like you look at the poster for like Sharktopus versus Octocroc, and you look at that and you're like, what the heck is this? And then like you watch the trailer and it's like, oh, this is an Asylum movie. But it'll always get attention as long as it's weird. It's like they don't really have an audience, but they have a far reach in the the grand scape of like moviegoers, which I find pretty interesting. I would like their movies to be like kind of genuine if they were just gonna completely go for it, even if it was dumb. Like Asylum never legitimately tries, and it's like they know they don't try.
Asylum movies are. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. I guess.
I was just gonna say. Oh, dang. Sorry. I thought you were done.
Yeah, that was it.
I was just gonna say, Asylum movies just remind me of, like, just like an actor who like he's just not in anything. Like Rob Schneider. Just like you just immediately know who Rob Schneider is.
Rob Schneider is
really in anything. Like he's not really in anything anymore. If he showed up in a movie, you wouldn't really care. Yeah. You would just be like, oh, I guess Rob Schneider's in this movie.
Should be in a Safdie Brothers movie.
Yeah, he's gotta make
Rob
that
Schneider
turn
could work in a Safdie Brothers movie.
He's gotta make that turn a lot of comedian actors make. Just start making serious stuff, just like immediately. And Funny enough, I think those are some of the best drama actors, like the comedians turned like drama actors. Ironically, that could work good for him.
If he legitimately gives it a shot, like, you know, Brendan Fraser wouldn't have seen that coming. But I'm glad that he's like found newfound success, and especially after not acting for a while. You know, first stupid is like you know, any bad comedian can be. Like, I'm always happy whenever they do like find a legitimate success that's like, wow, this is like, you know, different from like anything you've done before, and I'm proud that you've like, you know, you don't necessarily have to like have, you know, this large library of like amazing movies to be like, man, at least you have that one, you know, where it's like kind of like when one of the Wayans brothers is like in Requiem for a Dream. It's just like, it's I'm always happy to see something like that where it's like that kind of actor in that kind of movie, and it not being distracting. It's like,
all right, well, I think that's a good place to stop for now. What we're trying to do with this first episode is kind of have like episode 0, this be kind of like an origin, like just a little discussion, so everyone got to know us and got to know what we're about. And I swear next time we will talk about something other than movies, because we are trying to make this a more media focused podcast, not on just movies, but TV shows and music and other things like that. We all kind of talked amongst each other, and this will also be kind of a recommendation podcast as well. We all kind of agreed for the first episode. We all agreed to watch Blade Runner and Blade Runner 2049. We made that decision together, and the next episode we'll start the individual recommendations, and we're open to musics, TVs, movies, anything like that, and that will start on our first actual episode, which will be on Blade Runner and Blade Runner 2049, so both of those movies. So if you would like to join the discussion or just hear us talk about that, till next time, watch the movies.